If you keep ending up with the wrong women or only see trash out there, it's not bad luck. It's your brain filtering out the wrong ones, and you don't even realize it.
We're going live, baby.
We'll do it live.
You're listening to the premier podcast for men who want to not only be better with women, but want to be better men in general. This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host,
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer. Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer. He is a certified master life coach and NLP practitioner.
I'm going to have to update that intro. I got another book finally. got the next book in the series in the mail, so now I gotta fix that intro. Guys, it's Hump Day again, and I'm excited for today's episode. It's one of my favorite things to talk about, honestly. A big reason is it's law of attraction disguised as actionable information. But I promise not to get too woo-woo on you today. It's Breakup Wednesdays now, by the way. It's not Woo-Woo Wednesdays anymore. Do you guys miss the Woo-Woo Wednesdays, though? Well, drop a 1 in the chat if you want me to bring back some of that woo-woo. We can still do those on Fridays. But, guys, if you are new to the channel, my name is Paul Bauer, and I help men level up and get better with women. And the funny thing about doing that is it tends to make us better men in all areas of our lives. Does this sound familiar to you? Most men chase chemistry but end up with chaos. They ignore the one tool that filters out wasted time. It filters out heartbreak and emotional turmoil. A real non-negotiable contenders list. Without this, you'll keep falling for women who look right but feel wrong, who spark attraction and burn your future. You're leading with lust, not logic, and it's sabotaging your chances of finding true compatibility. Now, today we're breaking down exactly how to screen for compatibility like a boss. You'll learn how to stop settling, start setting the tone, and attracting a woman who's ready to build, not destroy. So stick with me until the end, because this is one of the best tools out there that most men just aren't taking advantage of. Now, guys, before we get too far into this, do be sure to like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you guys are watching live right now, sound off in the live chat. I'd like hearing from you. I could bring it up on the screen. If you guys have a question, do consider sending that as a super chat. Okay, I appreciate that. That supports the show more than anything else. And I do want to let you guys know, if you guys didn't tune in on Monday's episode, that I am having a workshop this Saturday. It's going to be on how to handle your girl's mood swings and cold behavior. I'll drop a link to that in the chat. Sign up and registration for that closes on Friday. So if you're thinking about doing it, don't think too long, because time will run out. Okay. All right. Let's get into it today, guys. Let's talk about them women. What do you think? What do you think about that? All right. Okay, let's talk about why chemistry without compatibility leads to failure. Okay, how many times have you guys been out in the dating circuit and you kind of vibed with a chick, but completely overlooked all of her monumental red flags that caused you problems down the road? Anybody? Any of you guys in the chat guilty of that? I'll tell you what, I had great chemistry with my ex-wife. I had great chemistry with Red Pill Chick in the beginning, right? And that chemistry convinced me that I could put up or even help them through their red flag nonsense, right? Like, it's almost like Captain Save a 304. We can't say it yet. We're not at the 8-minute mark, okay? It's like Captain, it's the savior paradigm, right? But you get the love goggles on, and then you gaslight yourself into thinking that you're truly compatible with each other, but you're not really. Like, the number one thing that I would hear from guys in the men's group that those podcasts started out of was, when they were seeing a chick, they would say, she checks most of the boxes, right? and when they say most of the boxes, they're talking about their contenders list, right? Well, she checks most of the boxes, right? Basically, what these guys were doing is trying to fit this girl into the boxes as opposed to seeing if she already fit, right? So they're all trying to shove round pegs in square holes or square pegs in round holes. And it just wasn't working, but they were trying to make it work because they didn't really like dating that much, right? Most guys, they aren't this intentional when they're going out meeting women. They just sort of go with the flow, whatever life throws at them, whatever happens. Okay. This is how most guys operate. They don't get with the women they want. They get with the women they can get with the least amount of effort. Right? A woman just happens to break into my house. I guess I'll bang her, right? But it's low-hanging fruit. It's low-hanging fruit. That's why a lot of guys settle with, fat girls and, like less than desirable girls. And then they tell themselves like, look, I care more about personality than I do looks. Okay, brother. Okay. That's how I am. Like, no, man, that's just the easiest option for you, right? Getting a hotter girl would require some effort on your part, and you don't want to put that effort in. How many of you have done this or are continuing to do this right now? Drop a one in the chat if you're guilty of doing this or if you are currently doing this. Okay, no one will know the difference. I'll drop a one in the chat. I've been that guy, right? I've just gone with the flow. Just first girl that's nice to me. So your contenders list, this is your personal manifesto, at least when it comes to women. And I'll tell you what, the contenders list works in all areas of your life, not just women. Okay. If you are on the hunt for a better job, make a contenders list for a future employer. Okay. You'll start finding more opportunities that align with your wants list if you do that, because it's law of attraction. Okay. Anyway. Well, what is your contenders list? I first learned about this from Corey Wayne and Dr. Robert Glover. They both recommend making this type of list. I just put a name of it on it. I called it the contenders list in Everything I Wish I Knew When I Was 18. If you guys don't have the paperback or hardcover or even the Kindle edition of Everything I Wish I Knew When I Was 18, it's got pictures. It's got pictures and graphs and charts. But anyway, I drew an example of a contenders list. Okay. So this is what it is. You take a piece of paper and you separate your wants from what you don't want. And on your wants list, you want to highlight all the attributes that you want in your ideal girlfriend, right? Ideal, if you want to get married, I don't know why you would, but your ideal wifey material, right? But it's for a long-term relationship contender. And you come up with like 10 or 20 things, and don't make it just she's got to have big boobs. She's got to have a nice butt, right? We're past statement, Mark. She's got to have a nice ass. I'm talking about, like, that stuff is good. Put that on your list, but beauty fades, but irritable and bitchy lasts forever, right? So you want conditions on there that are personality driven, right? Stuff like she has a dark sense of humor. I wanted a chick that had a dark sense of humor. I got Nurse Chick. Nurse Chick does have a hilarious dark sense of humor, and I love it. But all this kind of stuff, like caring and nurturing, highly sexual. I wanted a girl that was highly sexual, right? Like all this kind of stuff. So some of these on the examples, like, were on my list, but not all of these. I just made up a bunch of these too, just for an example, but some of them actually were, right? Like some of these were on what I don't want. Like I didn't want a woman who was frumpy, right? So the idea is you write up 10 to 20 things of what you want, 10 to 20 things of what you don't want. And then you highlight like 5, right? You highlight 5 of your must-haves. And if a chick doesn't meet the must-have criteria, she can never be a contender. She can only ever be a plate. Okay. That's the law. The list is law. So you don't try to fit girls into these boxes. You test to see if they already fit in these boxes. If they don't, they don't. Okay. You're going to stay out of way more relationships that you shouldn't have never been in if you follow the list and you stick to the list and you abide by the list, right? All right. So you get me. So this is where I really break it down. But I have a whole chapter on screening for compatibility and forget that bitch. And it references the list from everything I wish I knew when I was 18. Okay. So that's the contenders list. Your standards are your filter. Without them, you're just guessing. You're just life's happening to you. You're not making life happen for you. You understand? This is the difference between being intentional with your actions and then just going with the flow, right? You go with the flow, you're going to get what you get. But if you're intentional, you're going to get what you want. You get me? All right. So like I mentioned before, Dr. Glover and Corey Wayne, they both taught this. So Corey Wayne in How to Be a 3% Man teaches this, and Dr. Robert Glover in Dating Essentials for Men talk about this. But you got to understand, like, being selective, being more selective with the people that you allow into your life, it's about self-respect at that point. Like, do you have any respect for yourself? You're just going to let any willy-nilly chick off the street with a nice ass come into your life, right? And positively ruin your life. Like, a lot of these women out here will ruin your life. Okay. Don't you think it would be a good idea to be a little more selective about who you let into your life? And this is one of the beautiful things about this list. A lot of guys come to the red pill space and they think that all these women are 304s, all these women are OnlyFans models, like all these women are, gold digging bitches or whatever. It's like, yeah, because you've conditioned your mind to see that by watching too much, whatever podcast and too much Fresh and Fit. Okay. That's, but there's good women out here. There's good women out here, but you'll never find them because your mind's conditioned to look for the trash. Okay. So now you need to actively condition your mind to look for the good women and you'll start seeing them more. Okay. It's not magic. But the best thing about this whole thing is that it keeps you out of relationships that just aren't right for you. They're just not right for you. Okay. So examples of poor filtering and real life consequences. I have this brother. I've talked about him on the podcast before. He's been on the podcast before. If you go back in the archives and do a search for an episode about a guy who ended up in jail for the night because of this crazy girlfriend who was at the time of that interview, his ex-girlfriend. Okay. So this guy was with this gal for a couple of years from the original 3% Man group. And he was with this chick that was just really crazy in bed, right? Like she was like his description of the type of sexual activity they had was just off the charts, right? It sounds glorious. But when he finally moved her in, because that's really where they get you, boys, right? When he finally moved her in, which I'm proud of him. He didn't move her in right away. Like a lot of guys within 6 months, they're moving chicks in with them. Like, dude, fucking stop. What are you doing? Okay. Stop moving in with every fucking chick that you're with. Fucking. Anyway, so he at least waited a couple of years, finally moved her in because I think the big thing that was keeping him from doing it sooner, because he would have, was that they had this sort of longer distance. I think he had like an hour commute to see her, and he finally just moved her in to his place. Well, turned out she was a raging alcoholic, and she was, the kind of raging alcoholic that hides alcohol all over the house and has a nip like all throughout the day. And so she ended up becoming this like belligerent drunk that caused fights all the time. Like when she would drink, she would want to fight, right? And so then they would get into big arguments. He never learned how to maintain that emotional control when it came to arguing with women, and how like there's no point in arguing with women, right? Well, anyway, he ended up in a big fight one night, and he threatened to kick her out. He's like, look, I can't deal with this. You can't live here anymore. You need to get the fuck out. Well, she decided, oh crap, I don't have anywhere to go. I'm going to call the cops and say that he hit me. Right. And so he ended up, the cops came to his house. They arrested him. He spent like a night or two in jail. He immediately, in their state, if you get accused of, domestic violence, you automatically get a restraining order put on you. So he couldn't even go back to his own fucking house dealing with this crazy chick. Right. So he ends up having to go through the eviction process to kick this chick out. Right. He does eventually get her out. And then what does he do? Within a half a month, right? Because he's a 3% brother. Like, he's got that game down, right? Within a half of a month, he was already in a relationship with another chick. Okay. Now, most people think, oh, good on him. No, like, it's one of the things I talk about and forget that bitch. Okay. Like, you need to take some time to heal after a breakup, even if you're the one doing the dumping. Okay. Like, if you're the one doing the dumping, this is your book too. Okay. Anyway, he didn't do any of that because he couldn't be alone. And so he ends up in a relationship with the first chick that he's able to sleep with, like within a half a month. And he dated that chick for 3 months. And every time I heard from him, he was bitching and moaning about how she just wasn't as sexual as his ex, right? This chick just wasn't as into sex. I mean, she would lay there starfish style. She would let him have his, but she wasn't that into it, right? And that was really bothering him. It was really, eating at him. And I finally said, I was like, dude, why are you with this chick anyway? Like, you never let yourself heal from this last relationship. Fucking dump this chick. And it takes some time to heal. It takes some time to learn to be alone for a little bit, man. Okay. Well, anyway, he does dump this chick. And then within maybe a month and a half, he's already back with the toxic chick, right? So this is the kind of shit I'm talking about, where guys will say that they're making a list, but they're clearly fucking not, because if they were, they wouldn't be in situations like this. You understand? You understand? Now, if this sounds like you, and like your history with women has been this nonstop, cycle of toxic fucking relationships, you need the fucking list. Okay. You need the fucking list, brother. All right, guys, follow me on social media. The links are in the description. I'm on all the good platforms there. Get the free ebook. Fine. Here's how you get her back. A lot of you guys get broken up with, or maybe you guys even do the dumping, and then you need to move on, but you can't stop thinking about your ex. Okay, well, the free ebook in the description will show you how to get her back, but it'll also tell you what's a terrible fucking idea. Okay, it's absolutely terrible idea. And then when you're ready, grab my full book, Forget That Bitch. All right. It's the Red Pill Guide to Breakups. The way this book is laid out, and we've been going through this every week. If you guys didn't know, we've been going through this every week. We're on like chapter 9 now or something. But the way this book is laid out is you end up broken up with, or you end up, single again. Whether she did the dumping or you did the dumping, whatever, you're single again. And for whatever reason, you can't stop thinking about the ex. And a lot of the reasons why guys find themselves in this position is because the dating circuit is such a grind, right? It's so hard and it's so frustrating, and chicks are flaking everywhere, and it's all, fucking getting ghosted again, right? Oh, fucking God, another conversation about what my favorite fucking color is. Like, no one wants to do that. It's annoying. So then you start looking at your ex like, well, at least she's familiar. It would probably be easier to get my ex back. And she starts looking like a low-hanging fruit. And so you start obsessing over your ex, right? That happens to a lot of guys. A lot of guys also, they get dumped, and that rejection breeds obsession, and they can't stop thinking about how they could have fixed it, right? And if I just had one more chance, so they start thinking about getting their ex back. And so the book explains why that's a terrible fucking idea. And then it goes on to say, okay, well, you're going to try to do it anyway. So here's how you do it. Okay, now that you've gotten her back and it still ended the same, now it's time to actually fix ourselves, right? So that's how the book is laid out. And so the middle part, the first part is about getting your ex back and finding out that's a dumbass idea, and now it's time to move on. The middle part is all about the healing process, and the end part is doing it right, okay? So that's where we're at now. We're doing it right. Get the book on Amazon or Audible. Go to books.comeonmanpod.com. And you'll find all my books there. I'll drop a link to it in the chat if you haven't gotten this already. But if you're going through a breakup, like I said before, even if you're the one that's doing the dumping, this will help you through that healing process, and grab the accompanying workbook with it as well. All right. The cost of ignoring red flags because you're lonely. Okay. Well, one cost of ignoring red flags is the emotional drain, right? You end up managing dysfunction instead of building connection. So you're trading peace for temporary company, right? Do you want to spend all your time dealing with a crazy BPD girl? Or you want to deal with a girl that's totally into you and wants your attention all the time. She absolutely loves you and she does nice things for you. But what would you rather have? Crazy bitch? You're like, but that crazy pussy, Paul. It's time theft, right? Every month spent with the wrong woman is a month stolen from the right one and from your mission, right? You're dealing with these crazy chicks out here. How often can you focus on your mission in life? Because she's a fucking drama queen. She's always dragging you into her bullshit, and you let her drag you into her bullshit. And you can't focus on important stuff because you're always trying to like put out her fires and shit. Like how often does that happen to you? Okay. Confidence crash, right? Tolerating red flags chips away at your self-respect, making you question your worth and your judgment. Eventually you start thinking, oh, these are the only kind of girls I can get. Oh, I have a type. I have a type, right? And so you always end up with these crazy, yes, exactly, Erkin, BPD chicks, right? You always end up with these BPD chicks. You're total Captain Sava 304, and I have a type, right? I'm always drawn to these girls. I don't know why. Because you don't make your fucking list, and you don't you can't you don't actually pay attention to red flags. Right? Oh man, we got some super chats. Let me get these real quick here. We got a whole bunch of ones in the chat. Let's get these super chats. Alex Patino, $10 super chat. Funny you mentioned about women breaking in and you have chemistry. That's why I started hating anime, because the theme was a nerdy guy somehow meets a hot girl and they make magic. I only watch old anime. Yeah, it's mental porn for nerds, right? All right, you sent a $10 super chat, so I'm going to give you the booty shaking video today.
Super chat with shake it, dance without a care. Send it love from everywhere. Groovy beats we all can share. No support, it's so divine. Moving closer to the line. Thank you, you're the best. Party on, we never rest.
Bite onto that, develop lockjaw, be dragged to death. All right, Dar Fitness, $5. Guys, give Dar Fitness a follow. He's one of my Wolfpack brothers. $5 super chat. He says, I've got the same exact shirt. Bought it in Miami while I was there a few years ago. Too sweet. Fuck yeah. I got this in January. Nurse Chick and I went on the Jericho cruise. So yes, it is pro wrestling related. And he sent a $5 super chat. He automatically gets bumped up to a $10 super chat because he's a Wolfpack brother. So we're going to give him the titties.
Thank you for the super chats. Boobies bouncing, can't stop that. From the east to the west, you are the best. Keep those chats coming in, let's do it all again.
Bless their hearts. Bless their hearts. And then brother Kamal with 5.99 euros. Paul, I've been meaning to confess you match my list. When are you free this week? Bro, no. Here. You know what? You need a shaky booty video.
Super chat with shake it, dance without a care. Send it love from everywhere. Groovy beats we all can share. No support, it's so divine. Moving closer to the line. Thank you, you're the best. Party on,
Bless their hearts. All right, guys. Once upon a time, in a small village, there was a boy named Malik who lived near the edge of a thick forest. Every evening, his mother would remind him, never go beyond the wooden fence. The fire people lived there. Malik, curious but obedient, listened, mostly because she said it with such sternness. Still, he would often walk up to the fence and look out. Nothing ever seemed dangerous on the other side. Birds chirped, wind rustled the leaves. It looked peaceful. One day, chasing a runaway kite, Malik slipped through a break in the fence. He didn't go far, just a few steps, just enough to get a better view. That's when he saw it. Small, flickering flames dancing low along the forest floor like fireflies. He remembered his mother's warning, but these flames didn't look dangerous. They looked beautiful. So he reached out to touch one. It burned bad. The kind of pain that etches itself into your soul. He screamed. He ran home with a hand blistered and red. Now here's the twist. His mother didn't scold him. She didn't yell. She didn't even say, I told you so. She just sat beside him, held his hand gently, and whispered, now you understand. See, the rule had never changed, but now it wasn't just a rule. It was a memory, a felt experience. Malik would never need another warning again because the lesson had sunk in beneath his skin, into his bones. You probably got your own fences. Maybe you've heard, don't date women who disrespect you, or walk away when she starts testing your boundaries. But here's the truth. Until you get burned, you think the fire is beautiful. The rules aren't enough. It's emotional memory, personal pain that teaches you to trust your own standards. And the sooner you turn those lessons into clarity, the faster you stop playing with fire. That's why you can't red pill your friends. You can't red pill. We were talking about this. We were talking about this in Wolfpack, because one of the guys was talking about his son and how he gets frustrated with his son because his son's acting a certain way and it's not, dominant masculine presence type stuff. And I told him, I was like, I have the same thing with my son. You can't go out of your way to red pill people who aren't ready for it yet, because they'll disregard it. It's an attack on their ego protection layer, right? It's an attack on their paradigm. Their ego protection layer will fight against it until they experience some kind of pain that wakes them up from that ego protection and makes them realize that everything that they believed was wrong. Right? That's when they're ready for the red pill. But you could sort of nudge them in the right direction, but until they experience it, they're not ready for the information, right? All right. So we talked a little bit about this, but some emotional costs, right, of ignoring this stuff. You have time lost. You invest months or years trying to make it work with someone who was wrong from day one. Right. That's my experience with my now ex-wife and red pill chick. I look back in hindsight going, man, if I would have paid attention and made a list, I would have never ended up in these relationships for, as long as I was in these relationships. They were the wrong relationships for me. Right. I'm glad, at least with, at least with my now ex-wife, I'm glad it worked out the way it did, because I have two wonderful kids now and I wouldn't trade them for anything. But you know what I mean? Like I should have never been in a relationship with her to begin with. Dignity compromise. You tolerate disrespect, you chase validation, and forget the standards that you once held sacred. And your purpose gets derailed often enough, right? Your focus shifts from building your mission to managing her moods. Your path fades into her nonsense and drama, right? How many of you in the past, at least, how many of you in the past, at least, I should say, maybe you're doing it now, but maybe you did this in your past, but you turned managing your girl's nonsense into your mission. Raise your hand. Drop a 1 in the chat. I'll drop a 1 in the chat. Right? If you've in the past at least turned your girl's drama into your mission. Okay. Let's talk about why this works. Let's talk about why this works. What you're doing with your contenders list is you're tapping into your reticular activating system. It's a feature. It's a feature we have in our brains. It's also widely talked about when you're talking about woo-woo, law of attraction, manifestation type stuff. And the reason why is because it's a real thing, right? Your reticular activating system is a real feature in your brain that filters out what your brain doesn't think is important. Okay. It only can take in so much information and process so much information at once. If we were able to process every piece of information that our bodies were collecting, we would go insane. All right. It's too much information. So we have this filter that only allows your brain to process the stuff that it thinks is important. Okay. And so a lot of stuff gets ignored. So what we're doing is we're intentionally tapping into that to tell our brains, hey, this is important. Pay attention for these types of qualities. And so what's going to happen is now you're going to start seeing them everywhere, right? It's like if I tell you to look around your room and look for something blue, okay? Like you might not have noticed the blue light in the background before. You might not have noticed the blue on the picture with Rey Mysterio here, but now you're looking for it, right? That's how your reticular activating system works, because now I told you to look for something, and now your brain hones in on it. That's how that works, okay? You're no longer filtering it out. So with your list, or without the list, okay, your focus won't be on the women you actually want. It'll be on the women that you think about the most. And most of you guys that tune into Red Pill content only focus on 304s and OnlyFans models and, trash women that ghost you and steal your money and all this kind of stuff. And so that's those are the girls that you see everywhere. Fat girls. I had convinced myself right after my divorce that the dating circuit out here was awful, because I would tell myself there's only corn-fed women out here, right? So all I would see was all the fat girls around, and there's plenty of them. Don't get me wrong. Out in the cow pasture, there's a lot of cows, okay? There's a lot of cows out here. But when I stopped telling myself that, and I started saying, no, there's attractive women out here. There's gyms out here. There's always beautiful women at the gym, right? So obviously women out, like hot women out here exist. And so the more I started focusing on better looking women, the more better looking women would just start showing up out of nowhere. I'm like, oh, where were all these hot chicks before? Because I wasn't paying attention. I was so negative thinking about all the corn-fed cows out here. That's all I saw, right? So without the list, your focus won't be on the women you actually want. You'll settle with the first girl who is somewhat nice to you. You'll be worn out from the grind of dating, and you'll keep getting the same experiences you've always had with women, right? You're so worn out from this that I'm just gonna settle with this chick. She's nice. She seems nice enough. You'll just date the same girl over and over again with a different face. Same problems, different face, right? You need to stop letting yourself be blindsided by sheer laziness. And that's really what it comes down to. That's what it is. It's laziness. You're too lazy to sit down to make a list. You're too lazy to sit down and study the list on a daily basis and always keep it fresh in your mind. And after dates, you want to make sure you're updating this. You have to be intentional with this, okay? But you're too lazy to do that. You're too lazy to do what it takes to stay in the game, to find a girl that matches your must-have qualities, right? I got it. Dating's a grind. I'm so burnt out from it. I'll just take this girl. That's pure laziness. Okay. Hidden damage of short-term relationships that don't align with your vision. Attachment residue. Even short flings can leave emotional hooks that cloud your judgment and dull your judgment going forward. You get false progress. The shitty relationships you end up feel like momentum, right? I'm making progress. I'm at least sleeping with these chicks. I'm spinning plates. But they're detours that delay real alignment and drain your clarity, right? And then you have lowered standards. You end up lowering your standards, right? The more you tolerate misalignment, the more settling becomes your new normal. This is just how you operate. You end up settling. This is what you do, right? It took me 2 solid years of spinning plates before I finally found Nurse Chick. Now, Corey Wayne in 3% Man estimates it takes about 2 to 3 years after breakup to find someone who you're really compatible with. And I find that to be pretty fucking accurate. When I talk to, my 3% brothers that I keep in contact with, I'll find that if their relationship didn't work out, because a lot of the guys in the group would leave the group and then come back like a year or two later because of a breakup. And then they're back in the group studying the material again. I'm like, why did you stop studying the material, bro? Right? At least revisit this stuff once a year. Well, they would always come back and start studying the material and realize that they fell back on complacency or whatever, and that they were going to do it better this time. And they would get frustrated because it would take 2 to 3 years to find a woman that really checked all their boxes. Okay. But the guys who do the work and they're patient and the list is law, right? The list is law. They're patient. They're not going to just settle with anybody. They end up, the cream rises to the top if you let it. Okay. But you got to have patience. It could take up to 2 to 3 years. Okay. Have some patience. Have fun in that time. Okay. Make it a science experiment. Change your mindset about all this stuff. Stop looking at it like it's a fucking grind. But when you're actively doing the work, most of y'all just don't have the patience to do the work to keep pushing through, right? You want out of the dating rat race as quickly as possible without having to do very much work. Well, that's why you keep getting the same results, brother. That's why you keep getting the same results. If you want to really snap out of that sort of thing, if you really want to start changing how the dating experience goes, you really want to start doing that work, well then, brother, it's time to run with the wolves.
Bear Club?
Not anymore.
Midlife drift, feeling alone. You don't need hacks, blogs, lies. You need men with fire in their eyes. We rebuild from the ground up. No excuses, no soft stuff. Telegram lit, 24/7. Brothers locked in, steel, not heaven. Step inside the pack. We don't fall, we attack. Truth, fire, presence, we bring it back. Masculine pride, no time to slack.
God damn, that gets me juiced up. Gets me juiced up every time. Guys, if you want to work with me one-on-one, you can book a breakthrough call, breakthrough and battle plan call by going to call.fixdeadbedrooms.com. All right, let's see here. We've got, hey, Donna's in the house. Hello, Paul. Great show. Thanks, Donna. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. All right. If you guys haven't, go to Donna's channel. She interviewed me last Friday. It was a pretty good interview. Lots of good stuff. Okay, here's the thing. We talked about it already, but she's got to meet the ones highlighted here. These are your must-haves. Okay. She's got to meet those must-haves or she's donezo. She doesn't have to be donezo, right? Like if she's not exhibiting traits on your do not want list, she's just not, in the top 5 of your must-haves, you can still plate her, right? You can still spin her as a plate, have fun with her. Maybe she's a nice person, she's fun to hang out with, but she'd just be a terrible full-time girlfriend. Yeah, plate her then. Okay, spin her as a plate, keep sourcing new women, all right? Most of you guys just aren't doing that. You're sniper dating. So here's some screening questions that reveal her core, okay? Now, if you look at my contenders list, examples from everything I wish I knew when I was 18, I list frumpy, bad hygiene, life's a mess, selfish, no sex unless married or exclusive as deal breakers, right? These are absolute deal breakers. You dump her right there. Just like you highlight your must-haves, you're highlighted items on your do not want list are your deal breakers, right? If she exhibits any of those qualities, she doesn't even get to be a plate. Fuck her. You dump her right there. Okay. So those were examples of my deal breakers, right? Bad hygiene, life's a mess, selfish, no sex unless married, exclusive as deal breakers. So here are some example questions that one can use on a date to uncover these things. Okay. Because you're not going to just walk up to a girl and be like, so you got bad hygiene? Like, how often do you shower? Right? You don't ask questions like that. But you could ask, how do you usually like to spend your Sundays? It's a pretty open-ended question that will get her to tell a story and explain what her life is like. If she mentions sleeping in till noon, skipping showers, binging TV, and ordering takeout, she's showing signs of disorganized, low-effort habits, which kind of reveals frumpy, bad hygiene, and her life's probably a mess. Yeah. On the flip side, though, if she hits the gym, she cleans her house, she meal preps or journals, she's signaling structure and self-care. She's probably got a good head on her shoulders, right? You could ask her, have you ever done something really generous for someone just because? Okay. Look for how quickly and enthusiastically she answers this question and what kind of example she gives, right? A selfish woman might pause, deflect, or give a transactional or self-centered type answer. That will let you know if she's a selfish bitch or not, right? Oh, you don't fucking care about anyone but yourself? All right. You're out of here, Lisa. Fuck off, Lisa, right? Okay. For the for the no sex if married until married or exclusive type thing, okay? You don't have to ask about this. A 3-date rule will tell you everything you need to know. Having a 3-date rule is paramount, right? So what is a 3-date rule? It's basically women will sleep with you by the 2nd or 3rd date on average. Now there's guys in the space that will be like, if she doesn't sleep with you on the 1st date, like dump her right there. I mean, you could do that. You could have a 1-date rule. You could have a hookups only rule, whatever the fuck you want to do. Okay. But generally speaking, if you don't want to limit your access to just whores, most women have a 3-date rule themselves, right? And it's anti-slooty sloot defense. It's really, they don't want to feel judged for putting out too soon and giving up too early because men are judgmental sons of bitches, right? So most women will have a 3-date rule themselves. But they know pretty much right away whether they're going to sleep with you or not. They pretty much know right away. Okay. But if you allow them the dignity of a 3-date rule so that they don't feel like slooty sloots, what you'll find is you just keep those dates low investment. You don't have to be spending gobs of money on these chicks. Okay. That's the biggest hang up guys have. They're like, God, I'm going to spend all this money on this chick and she's not even going to put out like that. One, that you're operating under covert contracts. Stop doing that. But 2, like, why are you spending that kind of money? Okay. Women have to earn more expensive dates, right? You're just giving it away too free yourself. You're being a money whore. Stop doing that. So keep dates low investment. You'll find out by the 2nd or 3rd date because you'll invite her back to your place and she'll be down or she won't, right? And if she's not down by the third date, cut her loose. She's wasting your time. Okay. She's just not that into you. All right. That's it. Okay. That's what you'll find. And then she'll give you some bullshit excuse like, oh, not until we're exclusive and all, whatever. Okay. She might say that on the first date too. And that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. Women are just looking for the right guy to make them break the rules. Right. So they could say that on the first date. It's meaningless. You'll know though by the third date. Right. All right. I often like to tell guys to practice the 3 T's. These are the 3 T's aren't just useful in creating heat, right? Healthy emotional anticipation and tension. They're also useful to test for things on the list, right? Teasing her will tell you if she's laid back or if she's easily offended, right? If you go to tease her and she's just constantly getting offended by the things you say, don't spend your time with a chick like that. She needs to pull that stick out of her ass, right? Touching will tell you if she's into sex before marriage, right? Sex or exclusivity, whatever, right? Because if you go to touch her and then she's all about it, and then like she just melts in your arms and you guys end up making out for or like whatever, like, and then you end up back at her place like that. Touching leads to that. That's the magic of touching. It's kino escalation, right? And then telling her what to do. Tease, touch, and tell. Telling her what to do will tell you if she's going to follow your lead or not, right? Brother Alex up here, where did he say? Where is it? I saw it up here. It was really good. Let's see here. It was about his type. Let's see. Hold on. Where is he at? Where is it at? He said his type was, oh, yeah, here it is. Alex, my type are obedient. Well, how do you find out if a chick is obedient, right? Like, well, a chick that'll follow your lead. Well, you got to tell her what to do. If you tell her what to do and she does it, yeah, okay, cool, great. She follows instructions. Red flags to bounce on: accountability or zero accountability, jealousy, manipulation. A lot of red flags, right? If you go to, I don't know if he's still doing it. For a while there, one of Rich Cooper's lead magnets was a list of 20 red flags to look for in women. If you ever read his book, The Unplugged Alpha, which is a phenomenal book, I've read it twice. He has a whole chapter just on 20 red flags to look for in women. And one of those red flags is she a single mom? And then he has a whole other chapter about why single moms are trash. Okay, so obviously, single mom is a big red flag for Rich Cooper. But that's some of that stuff's subjective. Okay. Like for me as a single dad, single moms are great. I think they're wonderful because half the time I can't date anyway. I have my kids half the time. So a single mom that has the same parenting schedule as me gets that. They understand like, hey, we have time with our kids and we have time together. Like this works out perfectly. Right. So I don't have a problem with single moms. Right. And they're like, oh, okay, but you could never marry one. Well, I wouldn't marry anybody anymore anyway. So it's a not issue. Okay. But a lot of the red flags that you see out there, red flag lists they're subjective. Okay. What's his name? I had this conversation with Mike Sartain. Mike Sartain was on the podcast last year sometime. And he was like, no. Some red flags are very much objective. You know, like you don't want a girl that's into drugs. I'm like, what if you're into drugs though? Like, I mean, if you're into drugs, you kind of want a girl that's into drugs, don't you? I mean, I'm not saying that that's good for either of you, but it's still subjective. And he was like, oh, and what about girls that are, crazy BPD? That's definitely, an objective red flag. I'll go, yeah, but that crazy pussy though, you know what I mean? Like, anyway, it's he's not wrong, but a lot of the red flags that you'll see out there, like tattoos and whatever, like that's all subjective bullshit. Okay. Your red flags are going to come from your contenders list. Your personal red flags, what you will tolerate, what you won't, is going to come from your contenders list. And if you've never sat down to really think about that, how do you even know what red flags to look out for? Right? So your do not wants list will help you figure out your red and yellow flags. Okay. And like I said, the deal breakers, those are going to be your monumental, glaring in your face red flags where you dump her right there. Okay. Compatibility is filtered, not felt. Emotion is validated by standards. So she either, this is really the important thing I really want you guys to take away from the idea of the contenders list is she either checks the boxes or she doesn't. You don't make her fit into the boxes. She either already fits or she doesn't. Okay. And you abide by the list. Okay. If she doesn't check the right boxes, she's not a contender. The list is law. Say it with me. The list is law. Okay. Obviously, I mentioned the contenders list and everything I wish I knew when I was 18. But I go into depth in Forget That Bitch. Okay. The whole chapter is on screening for compatibility in Forget That Bitch. If you want help with this sort of thing, though, moving on after divorce or breakup, you've been struggling to move the needle on your own, right? I would say book a call with me. All right. Like get the book, listen to the audiobook, do the workbook and stuff like that. But if you're still not able to dig yourself out from under your ex or whatever, book a call with me. Okay. It's time to get some professional help. That's all I got, guys. Oh, please explain your thoughts on yellow flags. Well, a yellow flag to me, Donna, would probably be, she's kind of a toxic individual, but she's good in the sack. So you're still willing to plate her, but you're never going to do anything serious with her. Right. That's what I would say. I'll give you an example of what would be a yellow flag from this book. I would say liberal. If she was a liberal, if she's a liberal, it would be a yellow flag, but I would still spin her as a plate, like I wouldn't want to get into anything serious with a liberal, but they come around. All right. Tune into the podcast on Friday, guys. We're going to have you thinking like a warrior, and we'll be talking about how ancient philosophies shaped alpha mindsets. So that one should be a fun one for Frame Friday. If you guys haven't done so already, do be sure to like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thanks for everyone that sounded off in the comments. I appreciate you. And thanks for all the super chats today. I've totally got demonetized with all those shaking booty and shaking tip videos, but for you guys, I'm willing to do it. And then guys, follow me on social media. The links are in the description. Get the free ebook. Fine. Here's how to get her back. The links in the description for that as well. Get my book, Forget That Bitch. You can go to books.comeonmanpod.com. You can find all my books there. I've got 4 of them out right now. And all 3 of them I've narrated myself on Audible. The first one, I narrated part of it, but RP Thor narrated most of the book. So check those out. Everything's available on Audible if you prefer Audible. Guys, get in the Wolf Pack, wolf.comeonmanpod.com. And then, guys, don't forget, I'm having a workshop on Saturday. Registration closes Friday at midnight. So we're going to drop a link to that. If you're thinking about, if you're dealing with a wife or girlfriend's cold behavior, or she's got mood swings and you don't know how to deal with it and it always ends up in fights, join me for the workshop on Saturday. Okay. And then, guys, if you want to work with me one-on-one, book a call, go to call.fixdeadbedrooms.com for that. That's all I got. We will see you guys on Friday.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. Now, go out and get it.